Alright, I am back with another video, and today we are doing one of my most highly requested builds of all time. I'm pretty sure the amount of times I've been asked to do this specific type of build is at least in the maybe a dozen times, probably even more than that. And today I am finally delivering. I am doing an acid build. Now, for the longest time, I wasn't sure really how to do an acid build, because, I mean, yes, there's obviously equipment that works with acid, but it's still not the most powerful thing, and there's not a lot of spells that interact with acid, not as much as things like poison or necrotic, for example. And I always toiled around in my head with like how I wanted to make it work, how I wanted to make it interesting. And then a couple of things happened which brought the whole thing together in my mind. The first was that somebody requested a build focused around flails. And if you don't know, there is a couple of flails, oddly enough, even though there's not that many of them in the game and they're kind of overshadowed by a lot of other weapons in this game, there is a couple of weapons in the flail category that relate to acid, which was interesting. And then, obviously, earlier this week, I did the Kirito build and my Chaos Warrior build as well, which has completely opened my eyes to the power and versatility that dual wielding provides in this game. So I got cracking, and I think I've created one of my favourite builds I've ever made on this channel. So, let's get our chemicals ready, because we need to cook some acid. Yeah, just to make it a bit obvious what the character is based on. Anyways, we are going to be starting off as a fighter, which means we're going to be getting our fighting style, that being 2-weapon fighting, because we're going to need it if we want to dual-wield weapons. Also, for our ability scores, they're a little bit strange, but hear me out. We want a 16 in strength at least, because it is going to be our main melee attacking damage. We want intelligence at 16, because it is going to be our spell casting modifier. We want constitution at 14, which most people seem to agree is a pretty decent amount for the game. And dexterity at 12, because even though I'm kind of showing off a light armor here purely for the fashion, and we do want it at a decent level, you can just wear heavy armor with this build and be absolutely fine. I just kind of wanted a lighter looking armor set that kind of has that jacket vibe for the memes. As for our proficiencies, take whatever you like, except I am going to recommend, since we're playing a human, that you pick up medicine. It is just going to make sense, and it's going to synergize with a feature we're going to get later. You probably already know what it is if you've been on this channel long enough. And since we're also going to kind of play as like a chemist type character, I think we also want to throw a skill proficiency. Well, I guess we can't really get Arcana. I was going to say Arcana. Just grab whatever. I would say, let's grab history, because I guess he was a teacher. Not a history teacher. It's Walter White. I don't know. I haven't watched Breaking Bad in a very long time. Anyways, that's the stats, that's the proficiencies. Let's move on. At fighter level 2, we're going to be grabbing our action surge. You know what this does. It gives you an extra action once per short rest. It is busted good. Why did I say it like that? At fighter level 3, we're going to be getting our subclass, and we are going to be going Eldritch Knight. This is going to give us a few things. Number 1, our cantrips, of course, allowing us to get Acid Splash. This is a cantrip that deals a 1d6 message damage. This will scale up as we go. It requires our int as a spellcasting modifier, and it has a dex save against it. Pretty good overall. I quite like this one. It can be used at close range, which is perfect for an Eldritch Knight, and works really well with this build, so I definitely wanted to pick it up. I'm also going to be grabbing Poison Spray. While this build does not focus on poison, there's no reason kind of not to pick it up, because I kind of see these two in the same vein, and again, if we're making a chemist, it kind of makes sense. We're also going to be grabbing 2 spells here, and I'm going to recommend Chromatic Orb. You can change this into an acid variant that leaves noxious fumes, or a poison variant that just, you know, makes poison. Oh no, I don't know if you could do a poison variant with Chromatic Orb. I might be stupid. Oh, well, I am stupid, but hey up. But I know at the very least we can get an acid variant out of this, so we want to pick it up as one of our main attacking spells. And your second spell can be whatever you like, but since I'd rather use Chromatic Orb than Magic Missile most of the time for the sake of the theme, I'm going to recommend just grabbing Shield because it is a really useful utility option. We also are going to get a spell from the expanded spell list, and since there's not really much else I want to grab here, and I'm kind of including Poison in this build as a side kind of thing, let's grab Ray of Sickness to have another option there. At Fighter level 4, we are going to be grabbing our first feat, and I'm pretty sure you already know where I'm going with this. We are going Dual Wielder to be able to dual wield weapons that aren't light, and gain a +1 bonus to our armor class while wielding a melee weapon in each hand. You could take an ability score improvement at this point, but I do want the dual wielder feat a bit quicker, and even though strength is our main attacking stat, we are going to be grabbing the Potion of Everlasting Vigor to bump this up to an 18, so I'd like to get the dual wielder feat early. We do also get another spell at this level, and take whatever you like, it really doesn't matter. I will grab Magic Missile here just so we have that option, but something like Burning Hands would also work if you want to like save it. This is like the fire you use to boil the chemicals. In fact, fuck it, I'm going with this just because I've said that now. Next up at Fighter level 5, we're going to be getting extra attack, which is super awesome, meaning that we can make 2 attacks in a turn. Now, if we're dual wielding, up to 3. At Fighter level 6, we are going to be getting another feat, and at this point I want to bump up our ability scores. Now, as I already said, if we have the Potion of Everlasting Vigor at this point, our strength would be 18, which is a pretty solid number for this point in the game, so I'm actually going to suggest we bump up our intelligence for our spell casting, and again, we are quite a smart guy. We figured out how to run an entire criminal empire while making meth as well. We definitely want to have a high intelligence, let's say. At Fighter level 7, we're going to be getting an interesting feature here. We're going to be getting War Magic. After you cast a cantrip, you can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. So if you haven't used your offhand attack and want to use your main weapon attack, after casting a cantrip, you can do so, meaning that you can actually cast a cantrip and not lose out on extra attack, technically, but you would still be losing out on that third attack. But it is, if you actually want to use, like, cantrips in this build, it's a nice feature to have. Also, because we're now getting level 2 spells, we get to get Melf's Acid Arrow, allowing us to shoot a green arrow that covers the target and the ground with acid. It deals 4 to 16 acid damage and immediately, and 2 to 8 acid damage at the end of the target's turn. This is an awesome spell to get, and is one of the reasons I wanted to go to this high in Eldritch Knight. And you could pick up another spell as well. I'm not really sure what you would get. Nothing really makes sense to me. So pick whatever you like here. I might just grab Scorching Ray, just because it's a good spell. But I wouldn't really use it over my Acid Magic. And finally, at Fighter level 8, we are going to be getting another expanded spell list spell, and we are going with Knock, because you are the one that knocks. Fucking hell. And of course, since now we are at level 8, we get another feat, and I want to grab an ability score improvement to bump up our strength to 18. With the Potion of Everlasting Vigor, we will now have 20 strength, which is awesome. That is what we want. Now, obviously, you could just go to level 12 for Fighter, get that extra feat, get 3 extra attacks, and that is perfectly fine. That would be a super powerful build, and I would personally recommend that. But I do, because we're kind of building a funny character here, I do want to show off a multi-classing option, and you already know what it's going to be. We are grabbing Wizard, and this is going to give us a few extra things, namely some more cantrips, and I'm just going to grab Firebolt and Bone Chill because that seems right to me, and we'll grab Friends, why not? Now remember, you can probably take these wizard levels at any point you like. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because you would still get pretty much all the stuff you would kind of want around the same time, maybe slightly delayed. So maybe after getting extra attack, or at least hitting level 6 of Fighter, you could start going into wizard, I would say. But I'm just taking it at the end here to kind of show it off as an option, since you can either do this or go full Fighter, as I said. We also do get to prepare some extra spells, and I'm just going to say we should grab all of our generalized utility options, just getting everything that kind of works instead of Expeditious Retreat. However, I might grab Grease, because like, you could say that's like an alchemic, or like a chemical that you would use in chemistry that's like spilled all over the floor and is slippery. It could work. Maybe even Color Spray as well could also work in that regard, or Fog Cloud. In fact, I'm going to grab Fog Cloud as well, because it's like I can see like you very cartoonishly pouring chemicals together, and then there's like a puff of smoke, and that's Fog Cloud. I don't know. I'm kind of mixing like Walter White with kind of like a cartoon freaking scientist for this, and it's kind of fun. As for our wizard level 2, I mean, you guys know, and this is, I remember when I first talked about Transmutation, I'm like, oh yeah, this is absolutely the wizard subclass that people use the least. It is my most used. I think in most of the builds I've featured wizard, I've used Transmutation, which is insane. But it's an amazing class. It's going to allow you to brew 2 alchemical solutions instead of 1 when combining extracts if you succeed a DC 50 medicine check, and because we got medicine proficiency, we'll be a little bit better at that, although our wisdom is not the highest. But it's still better than nothing. We're also going to be able to grab a couple more spells, and I'm just going to grab Fine Familiar and Colour Spray. I don't know, I just quite like it. And I think I'll keep my... now we'll throw on Fine Familiar. I mean, it's not exactly our usual lab assistant, but perhaps it'll do the trick. At Wizard level 3, we are going to be getting some more spells. We're also going to be getting level 2 spells, and it's really up to you what you want to take here, but I am going to recommend Phantasmal Force. It is a concentration spell that deals damage to a creature each turn. The type of damage changes to the last type the creature suffered. You can kind of go for this as, like, basically casting this spell, dealing acid damage, and then having them basically slowly corrode over time from the acid. I actually quite like it thematically. I think it works quite well. But the next thing can be whatever you like, so I'm actually going to go with Mirror Image. When you hit your enemies with acid, they start tripping out and start seeing double, making you harder to hit. And I think I'm going to slap these bad boys on here. Yeah. If you're wondering about the justification for taking Long Strider and Enhanced Sleep and such like that, you make meth. I mean, that's basically a superpower if you use it right. As for level 4 of Wizard, our final level, we do get to choose an extra cantrip, and I'm going to go with Minor Illusion again for that whole like tripping people out on acid type thing. And we do get some more spells, and I think to stick in that same tripping out theme, we're going to go with Blur, making you harder to hit, because you are blurry, because their vision is fucked up, because they're high. And the last one can be whatever you want. Maybe if we want to go for a better version of Fog Cloud, Darkness could work. But Misty Step is also just a great utility option, and I'm going to be taking it here, even if it's not really on theme. Yeah. And, of course, we also get our final ability score improvement, meaning our intelligence is now 20, meaning that in total with the potion we would have 20 strength and 20 int, meaning our 2 most important stats are maxed out, which is awesome. And that is the build. Hold on, I want to get like the meme shot. Hold on. How can I... you can't like raise the camera up and down. You know what? Close enough. Thumbnail shot. Just getting the thumbnail while I record. Anyways, overall, with this build, you're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to have a ton of martial capability, being able to attack with both your offhand and your on-hand weapon, as well as a bunch of different spells to be able to bolster yourself up and deal acid damage in different ways. And overall, I think this is just going to be a very, very fun playstyle. You do also get the ability to bind your main hand weapon. I didn't really talk about this, but yes, you can technically throw your flails and have them come back to you, but I don't see a reason to ever do that with this build. So, let's get into the equipment, because this is going to get weird, and I actually have to show off a very specific process you're going to have to do to make this build work. So I want to get into the weapons straight away here. So we have 3 weapons that are important to this build. First up is the Flail of Ages. Depending on what kind of damage this weapon does, it also inflicts acid condition, chilled condition, or burning condition. Of course, we care about acid here. And the acid condition reduces an enemy's armor class by 2, which is super good. We absolutely want this. It's a +1 weapon, but it also has the Elemental Ages ability. This is elemental weapon that it can apply to itself, that doesn't require concentration and lasts until your next long rest, and you can give yourself acid damage. Now, the way this actually works, it says it gives the Flail of Ages this, but if you have the Flail of Ages in your offhand and you cast Elemental Age, it will apply the bonus to your main hand weapon. So this is actually an interesting way to be able to buff your main hand weapon with like elemental weapon without needing to use the Drakethroat Glaive, which is the kind of usual way you'd be able to do it. But we're going to be using both in this build because that's how it works. So you want to have this in your main hand, and then cast Elemental Age first before doing the rest. So we're going to cast Elemental Age now. the acid variant. And as you can see, we've buffed our Flail of Ages with elemental weapon, giving it a plus 1d4 to plus 1d4 acid damage, and the ability now to inflict the acid condition, as well as an extra plus 1 enchantment, making this a total plus 2 weapon, meaning that our main hand weapon is going to be able to do 1d8 plus 6, which would be higher if we had the potion, bludgeoning damage, in addition to 1d4 plus 2 acid damage. That plus 2 is coming from a ring we're using, so you're going to have decent attacks here. But the thing is, the cool thing about the Flail of Ages is as long as you keep it in your inventory, it doesn't have to be equipped, the buff will stay. So this gives us the opportunity to do the next part, and that is grabbing the Corrosive Flail. This is a +1 flail that has a special ability to use a special attack called Corrosive Strike. Deal additional acid damage equal to your proficiency bonus. On a hit, create a pool of acid around the target which reduces armor class by 2. Now, this doesn't actually have extra acid damage by default, so let's give it some. We're going to drop the Corrosive Flail. I mean, a lot of people know the strategy, but I'm just going to go over it anyway. We're going to drop the Corrosive Flail on the floor and equip the Drakethroat Glaive. Enemies have disadvantage on saving throws against your Dragonborn Breath weapon. We're not a Dragonborn, but if you wanted to be and use this weapon, you could. But we also get Draconic Elemental Weapon. Imbue your weapon with elemental power. It receives a +1 bonus to attack rolls and deals an additional 1d4 damage of your choice. This is the same as the Flail of Ages, except you have more element choices. But here's the thing, you don't have to cast this on the Drakethroat Glaive. As long as it is in your inventory, you can cast it on any weapon you can see, in our case, the Corrosive Flail. Now we just grab the Corrosive Flail, pop it back into our inventory, and sure enough, it is now a +2 weapon with a 1d4 acid damage bonus, the same as our main hand weapon. And so we can unequip the Drakethroat Glaive, and boom, bam, bosh, both of our flails now have additional acid damage, and do a decent chunk of damage both with the main hand attack and the offhand attack. Again, this would be higher if we had the potion, which I haven't gotten for this video. So now we have a ton of damage options, and I think you mainly want to have the Corrosive Flail in your main hand so you have access to the Corrosive Strike, but either will work. And so yeah, basically we're going to get a ton of damage out of both of our attacks as well as our cantrips and our spells. So now you have a pretty decent fighting style, but I'm not done yet. Let's get into the equipment. Now, the equipment is less important for this build, mainly the armor and the headpiece. There's nothing really good for an acid build. Nothing in those slots really interacts with acid, so you can pick whatever you like. So I've gone for memes. I know this looks absolutely nothing like Walter White's hat, but it's the closest thing I could find that you can actually obtain in-game. The other is the Hat of Uproarious Laughter, which looks closer, but unfortunately this cannot be obtained in-game, which sucks. But let's have a look at this hat anyway. It's the Gibbous of the Worshipful Servant. At the start of combat, the wearer gains momentum speed equal to their charisma modifier, so none for us. However, the main thing is you do gain advantage on Constitution saving throws. So if you wanted to wear Walter White's hat, or at least something that somewhat resembles it, you can, and get a pretty decent buff. That advantage on Concentration saving throws is going to be nice. But again, if you have access to mods, you can grab this and have a very accurate looking hat, which, when knocked prone, hostile creatures with an intelligence of 5 or more within 9 meters of you must succeed a wisdom saving throw or become stricken with laughter. I wish this was actually in the game and accessible, but it is not. Our cloak is the Flesh Melter Cloak. Whenever a creature deals damage to the wearer, that creature takes 1 to 4 acid damage. It's just more acid damage basically for free. I've gone for the Elegant Studded Leather here because I feel like it's one of the best armor sets that kind of looks like a kind of more modern, casual looking outfit. But honestly, you can put anything you want in this slot, it really doesn't matter. But if you do decide to go with this, you get an advantage on stealth checks, a +2 to initiative rolls, and the shield spell once per short rest. So it's a pretty good shake. I've coloured everything here pale swamp green, by the way, because Walter kind of had that like kind of green shirt and some promotional images underneath his brown jacket. So that's kind of what I went for here. But if you want to actually wear medium armor, something like a chain shirt +2, if it's coloured correctly, might look okay. Kind of reminds me of Shrek, actually. Oh shit, now I need to do a Shrek build. I should just not say things. Or perhaps even something like the 1T scale mail, which could also work. I don't actually think I've coloured this one. Let me see. yeah, something like that could also work if you just want some decent armor. But again, it's entirely up to you. Grab some heavy armor would probably be best, but I just kind of wanted some nice fashion options. We also have the Icarus gloves. When the wearer deals acid damage, they also inflict noxious fumes upon the targets. Noxious fumes means that hostile creatures within a radius of 3 meters take 1 to 4 acid damage, meaning that you get a bit of splash damage whenever you deal acid damage, which for us is all the time. We've also got Vashkoku's boots, and these are important because obviously if you played a Dragonborn, you would get a black Dragonborn, you would get resistance to acid damage. However, if you pick up these boots, acidic surfaces don't affect you and you are resistant to acid damage, meaning that you still get that acid resistance, but also you're not going to be affected by surfaces made by your own acid spells, which is super, super important to this build. And since you're going to want to wear these even if you are a Dragonborn, it makes sense that I could just build whatever I like, so Walter. I've also thrown the Darkfire Shortbow in the offhand slot because there's literally no reason not to. And of course for my accessories, because since we're doing like elemental damage, there's no reason not to use my elemental gish setup. We've got the Ring of Elemental Infusion, meaning that when we deal acid damage using a spell or cantrip, it's going to buff our weapon with the same damage, being a 1d4, so we're going to get more acid damage out of our weapon strikes, and this does synergize with our Warcaster feature, meaning if we cast Acid Splash and then use our bonus action attack, we'll still get that extra 1d4 damage in the same turn, which is nice. I also have the Caustic Band, meaning all of our attacks now deal an additional 2 acid damage. It's just more acid damage. And then finally, the Necklace of Elemental Augmentation, meaning that when we use our acid cantrips, we add our spellcasting modifier to the damage dealt, basically Agonizing Blast for elemental cantrips, which is awesome, meaning that things like Acid Splash are going to do a big chunk of damage. So yeah, that is the build. Overall, I am super proud of this one. This is a seriously fun playstyle that really turns one of the kind of less focused on elemental damage types in the game into something super, super powerful. You're going to be dealing lots of damage with your attacks, able to inflict some unique status effects through acid, either making acid surfaces with Mouth's Acid Arrow or Chromatic Orb, or, you know, noxious fumes, or other things. And of course you can do things like poison damage or fire damage with this build as well, which is nice. And again, you're just going to have a lot of utility. Now, again, you could just go to full fighter with this build, but if you did that, you'd only have a maximum of like level 2 spell slots, whereas with the wizard multiclass, we actually have a total of 3 level 3 spell slots, which I feel like is better in the long run. It is going to allow you to cast more powerful spells more often, meaning that you truly are going to feel like an acid-based Gish, which is going to be awesome. It feels super fun to play. My testing with this build was ultra fun. I really, really enjoyed using this, and I feel like, again, if you do use it, you're just going to have a ton of fun. I was super glad that I was able to deliver on something that I'm truly proud of when it comes to one of my builds that has been so highly requested. Because I didn't want to just like be like with an acid build, just be like, yeah, play Black Draconic Sorcerer Dragonborn and just get all the acid spells and, you know, blah, 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 blah. I really wanted to find something unique for something that has been so highly anticipated by a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy that I was able to deliver on a build that I am super, super proud of. That's a lot of people wanted to see, and I actually do think this might be a build that I would actually want to play through the game with, because it just feels so fun to use. So yeah, maybe we'll just get into kind of like the end of video stuff now. You may have noticed some weirdness with my video from yesterday, that being my Asuna build. It was uploaded at a very, very late time for most of my viewers, and, you know, it kind of ended up being a bit weird. I had the video uploaded and ready to go, on time, ready to be done, and YouTube blocked it worldwide. Because if you watch the video, sometimes if I feel like I want the combat footage to roll on a little bit longer than kind of like my dialogue does, I'll kind of just let it play with the background music in the background. This has never been an issue before. But the music I used for that video, and this is me being naive and not really understanding, you know, copyright systems and whatever, I used a music compilation from the Sword Art Online anime. Now, I actually used the exact same music in my Kirito video, and it was perfectly fine, but because I had a couple of seconds at the end where my voice was not over the music, it actually got copyright claimed, not striked. My channel did not receive a copyright strike. The video just got blocked, which means nobody could ever watch it. So what I ended up having to do was I had to take down that video, re-render it with new music. I just grabbed some Zelda OST that I liked and had to re-upload it, which of course caused the video to be late, uploading it at a weird time, meaning it absolutely killed the video's momentum and it got way less views than its Kirito counterpart, which, you know, is fine. And I kind of apologize because I felt like it's like, because I know that was a build that people wanted, and the fact that it came out so weird at such a weird time and not a lot of people saw it. And it was kind of like, oh, really? And I was kind of pissed off because I was like, oh, really, YouTube? And it's funny because I got that music from a YouTube video that certainly did not have the copyright claim to that song. So I have a feeling it probably wasn't even the actual, like, company that owned the music. It was probably just some, like, person abusing the copyright system. I didn't even bother to check. As soon as I saw it flashed up as red, blocked worldwide, ineligible for monetization, blah, 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 I just fucking deleted it instantly because it was like 10 PM at that point and I was tired. I was just like, fuck it. I'll quickly fix this and re-upload. And I didn't want there to be, and I didn't want to like delay all my videos by like a day just because, oh, it's not going to be seen by as many people. So I just thought, fuck it, I'll upload it and see what happens. And the response on that was actually really, really positive. And I was super proud of that video too because it uses like a unique feat to create a fun fighting style that is completely different than all of my other builds. So if you haven't actually seen that video, regardless of whether or not you care about like anime or whatever, it is actually a super fun, really cool build that I just am quite proud of. So I'd appreciate it if after this you wouldn't mind just kind of going and checking that one out, because again, it was one of those builds I was really excited to upload and then just got pissed off with because YouTube needs to fix their shit. I don't think there's anything else I really need to go over. I mean, everything else should be on schedule. I've decided I might move the deity build up to tomorrow, which is Friday as of the time of recording, because I want to make sure that gets out, because that is kind of a more important video than the one I had planned, and my weekend is starting to look a little bit busier than I initially intended it to be, so so there might not be a video this weekend. But you know me, I do say this, and then all of a sudden there's, like, a big video that turns up or something. Like, I usually do have time to make these things, but I can never be too sure, so I don't want to promise anything. So there might be a build on Saturday, Sunday, there might not. But just to make sure that I do get the video out, I am going to be moving my Moradin deity build up to Friday. And then my video that would have come out on Friday might come out this weekend. Otherwise, there might not be any builds. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for me. Again, super proud of this build. Try it out. You have a ton of fun. I am going to go now. Yes, I will see you all next time. That was a weird fucking outro. What on earth is up with me tonight? I think I've been taking acid. You know what? Probably.